Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Michelle Vaisaga and I am the crafty chick behind Shell's Beads. For today's tutorial, we are going to be working with some beautiful components from a mystery box that I picked up from Glitter Heart Co. It was a collab with Lauren Quigley Creations, and I can't tell you how wonderful it was to really break out these pastel colors and put all of these elements together. So I know most of you guys get subscription boxes or mystery boxes, but sometimes it's kind of hard to tell what to do with all of that stuff that comes in the box. So I hope that today's tutorial helps to show you how we can put these elements together for a super fun look. To get started, you're going to want to take a fully prepped and sanded tumbler. As you can see me doing here, I'm taking 150 grit sandpaper and I'm definitely scuffing up the surface of this cup. This will help all of our spray paint to adhere and also just help to make sure we get really good seals with our epoxy and glitter layers. A lot of times we kind of ignore these prep steps like sanding, but it really does make a difference in the end when you're looking to adhere your spray paint colors. And if your spray paint colors are well adhered, that means all of the subsequent layers are as well. So now we're going to take it inside the house and we're going to wash this off with a little bit of Dawn dish soap. I like this because it really does a good job getting in those sanding grooves and removing all of that metallic dust that is formed when you take the sandpaper to the tumbler. Make sure this is fully dry inside and out before you come into spray paint. Any little droplets of water are going to repel the spray paint. So as you see here, I'm using 6 colors of spray paint, and I just kind of chose light pastel colors that were going to mix well with the glitter that came in the box. So I will have every color listed and linked in the description box below. So for this, we're going to kind of do a Milky Way effect. There are a couple little elements in this kit that we're going to use that I thought would look really good using a Milky Way style cup. So to do this, we want to do diagonal stripes of each color going around the cup, keeping in mind that you're spacing out 6 colors. So just leave yourself enough room to lay every color down. Every couple of colors, I go back in and blend with the previous 2 colors to get a really nice fade. Please excuse that really bad spray paint job on that turquoise section. Unfortunately, it was really cold and windy that day, so the spray paint was not behaving itself. In the next frame, I'm going to show you exactly how this cup looks once we have all of the colors fully blended together. You could really sit and play with this for a while, making sure that you get even sections, but don't go crazy because we are going to be laying glitter on top of this, so it will hide some of those minor imperfections. I had really wanted to show a picture of what this box looked like, but because I'm super impatient, I kind of went hog wild and I just broke right into it. So these are the glitters that came in the box, and I have to tell you, these are a pastel lover's dream. These are chunky mixes, and we are going to be adhering it with this glitter glue from Lilac that came in the box as well. So to do this, I used a Mod Podge brush to brush this on. It did come with this floofy brush that you see here, but unfortunately I had an accident and mine broke, and they were gracious enough to send me a new one. So for this video, unfortunately, I didn't get to use it. But basically you want a brush that's going to eliminate most of those streaks so that you don't have streaks in your glitter. To start laying down your color, we are going to lightly sprinkle through the middle of each stripe, keeping it very nice and sparse on the edges so that we can blend those colors in as we go along. I will give you a little tip. I waited a little too long and I felt like some of my glitter glue did dry in between. So just make sure that you work quickly and efficiently when working with glitter glue over the entire cup. So as you see me doing here, I just keep laying down each subsequent color, and I do let it kind of fade into the next color that will be laid down. I like this method of laying down glitter because it's kind of like an ombre, but really we're just trying to blend these colors together. By choosing your base colors, it does help this blend because this blend does feature a lot of translucent opals in it. So your base colors really will have an impact on how these glitters come out as an end result. As you see here, everything looks really nice and blended, and we're going to let this layer dry for 2 hours and then add a second layer. So quick little note. Apparently I didn't read the directions well enough, and about 10 to 15 minutes after laying down your coat of glitter glue, you are supposed to press the glitter into the glue. Otherwise, it may not adhere properly. It did result in me having to come in and do a second coat like you see here. To do that, I spread a second coat of the glitter glue using my Mod Podge brush all over the cup, and then I came in and re-glittered over the top of each one of those colors. Read the directions is basically the moral of this story. So now that I've read the directions, I let the cup sit for 10 minutes, and here you see me taking a sheet of parchment paper and cupping my hand and just using it to gently press the glitter into the cup. The difference this made was incredible. It made me go from not liking the glitter glue to loving the glitter glue application. Go ahead and apply 2 coats of epoxy, and once those have cured, we're going to move into a third coat that is going to include this delicious white glow powder that came in the box. This is a pigment powder that is supposed to glow in the dark, and although I didn't test it out before using it, I still loved the way it added a really nice ethereal touch to this cup and perfect for the pastel theme. So I took about 4 or 5 scoops of that on the end of my stir stick, and I mixed it into 5 milliliters of epoxy. I'll let that sit for just a second, and then I'll take the remaining 25 milliliters and we are going to coat our tumbler with that. This is going to act like a float, and it will allow us to create our faux Milky Way effect using that pigment powder. As you see here, you can also see that I did some light sanding before adding this coat as well, just to make sure that my glitter was as flat as it could be. You could always skip that step, but you have to remember that if you haven't sanded any sharp bits down, that they will show through. And once you've added the pigment powder, you don't really want to sand again and risk sanding through that layer. So once we have that on, I torch out all the bubbles so that I don't have to torch out bubbles when I have the pigment powder down. This is important. You don't want to burn out the pigment powder. So now, like a Milky Way, we are going to be laying diagonal kind of just little stripe effects of this pigment powder. And I do that by dragging some from the tip of my stir stick down the first half of the cup, letting the turner help me do this work. I don't try to fight with gravity. I just kind of let it do its thing. And if I have to go back around, I will. And I do this both on the top of the cup and then coming up from the bottom. I also like to drag my stir stick through these lines to kind of bleed them out a little bit and give a little bit more of a wispy, ethereal effect. I feel like, especially for something like a glow powder, this is going to just kind of give that almost like phantasmic type look to this tumbler. You can also take a gloved finger, and if you have any really gloopy spots, you can further spread that out or feather that out by scooping up just a little bit of that powder in between spots where you don't want it. You can see me doing that here. I didn't want to lose my overall glitter effect, so I just wanted to make sure that I had these striations of this pigment powder going the way I wanted. Now we're going to move into our final sanding for this cup. So for this cup, I did still have a little bit of problem areas along this bottom rim, and I'm going to go ahead and sand it with 150 grit sanding block and then smooth it out with 230 grit sanding paper just to make sure we have it nice and butter smooth. From here, I want to show you what I did with the top rim of my cup. I used a really fun material that I found in my husband's work area, and this is sanding mesh. I asked him what it was for, and he said it's for belt sanding. And the way that this mesh is created really made short work of the top rim of this cup. So as of the time that I recorded this video, I still hadn't located the product yet, but hopefully I'll be able to list it and link it in the description box below. This made short work of 3 coats of epoxy at this top rim and made it so I could expose that fine line of stainless steel. Now we're going to add another fun element to this cup, and this is a sheet of opal oil slick foil that was included in the box. And to use it, we're going to just use a tacky adhesive. Similar to Tack It, I'm using Cosmic Shimmers foil and flake glue, and we're just going to brush on brush strokes wherever we would like this to appear. I chose to do it in between the colors, but you could choose to do it anywhere you wanted on this tumbler just to add a little extra something. This foil gives a very cloudy, ethereal look, so it was perfect for this theme of pastel dreams. Because we need to let this glue dry in between, I got a little impatient, so you see me coming in the next frame with a heat gun and making sure that I have this dried so that I can apply my foil. It's actually really easy to do this. I just cut a thin strip of the foil off, and at first I just used my fingers to press it down, but it did need a little more coaxing, so I did have to break out my squeegee and get my squeegee in there just to help transfer the rest of that foil onto the cup. As you can see here, it leaves behind a beautiful, almost pearlescent type of an opal oil slick. Make sure that you're using something that is hard enough to transfer that foil so that you don't have any headaches. Now it's time to add our decal. I chose one from Lauren Quigley's membership group, and if you aren't a member, definitely check it out when she opens her membership. I absolutely love being a part of her creative community. It's also how I was able to get my hands on this wonderful box before it sold out. So I will have her group listed below, and when she opens up membership, please check it out and consider joining. So now we are ready to add our final coats of epoxy to this cup. We're not done yet, but we're going to be done with epoxy at this point. So I do add 2 different coats of 20 milliliters each, letting them cure about 4 hours in between each coat. And from there, I let this cup cure for 24 hours before moving on to the next step. So the last fun element that we are going to apply to this cup is these beautiful resin rhinestones that came in the box. Here you see me using a 2-part epoxy adhesive from Crystal Ninja, and both the applicator gun and the glue came from her site. Don't worry about that yellow color that you see here. This epoxy will not show through, and it doesn't mix up like your regular 2-part epoxy does. I take a little Post-it note and I take my stir stick and I mix those 2 parts together until I have a uniform color. It actually comes out kind of looking like a little bit of creamy cinnamon bun frosting. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And I basically just make sure that it's mixed well and I no longer see any striations. Once we know that this is mixed, we can start using this to spread on our tumbler to add our rhinestones. I could not find my little rhinestone sorter, so I just dumped some of these rhinestones out. These are varying sizes. I believe it's SS4 to SS16, but I will double check that for you guys. So you are going to need an applicator tool like you see down below, but to get these started, I do freehand all of these drips. So I take the glue and my stir stick and I just kind of map out where I want my drip to be. You can always add more rhinestones if you feel like your drip isn't long enough by adding additional glue and rhinestones. To do this, you're going to take the beeswax side of your picker tool, and on the faceted side, you're going to pick up your rhinestone and set it down on your glue. This was a much more difficult job because I did not have a sorting tray, so I will have one of those listed and linked in the description box below, and it just helps to keep your rhinestones the right side up so you make quick work of picking them up with your rhinestone picker. I did kind of try to go along the top first to create a nice straight line, but being that this is a drip design, if you were a little off on that, it would be okay because it's more of a fluid pattern and not something that has to be so exact like a full rhinestone tumbler. This already comes as a mix like you see here, so I was just trying to place random colors next to each other, taking care not to have too much of the same color in any one spot. I didn't want to bore you guys with adding the entire drips around the cup, so you'll only see me doing this small portion, but if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the description box below. After these drips and rhinestones were cured, the cup was ready to go. I would recommend giving it a quick hand wash before shipping it off to your customer, just to make sure that there is no kind of residue left behind. As always, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Please consider joining my Facebook group because I do try to go live in there at least once a week and just talk cups and crafting and have a ton of fun. Here's the finished cup. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I hope that you'll consider subscribing to my channel. Make sure to hit that like button and thank you from the bottom of my heart. Until next time, guys, stay creative.